My name's Miles, Daniel Miles, and this is a spoiler review for Star Wars The Force Awakens. If you have not yet seen this film, this is a spoiler-filled review, so stop here, go see the film, and come back. Oh wait. I promise. Okay, so let's break it down. This is a spoiler review of Star Wars The Force Awakens, and to be honest, this is an amazing film. It is definitely one of the top films of the year, and arguably the best Star Wars film of all time. It's not perfect, not by any stretch of the imagination. I have noticed that this is basically a beat-for-beat remake of A New Hope. I have noticed that there are plot holes dangling, but one thing I've come to realise is that as this is the start of a trilogy with interweaving plot threads, what we think of as plot holes may be rectified in the next two films, so I'm going to be quite generous on that front. One thing I'm not going to be quite generous on is the fact that the villain is a dishcloth. As a matter of fact, I think he's slightly less menacing than the dishcloth I used to do the washing up last night. I'm sorry, but Adam Driver as a villain, he was kind of cool when he had his mask on and when he was being the new Darth Vader. That was cool. Then when he started lashing out with his lights, I was thinking, okay, so he's got more rage issues than Darth, he's not quite as in control. That's fine, that's quite cool. And then he took his mask off, and in the cinema, I put my hand on top of my face and I was like, that's it, he's done his arc. He's gone from being Darth Vader to being Anakin Skywalker in the prequels, and he's done. He's done for me. I was talking about this with my girlfriend. She turned around to me and said, Daniel, you're obsessed with the villains. She's right, I am obsessed with the villains. I find heroes quite boring. I like villains. I like someone who's doing something that they are not supposed to do. I like a villain. A villain makes a film for me. I can think of a lot if there's a strong villain. And Adam Driver, for me, he's a dishcloth. He's terrible. I'm not sure if that's the actor who did indeed have more than little Hayden Christensen in his performance, or because of the way the character was written, but for me, a real weak spot was that villain. Now, the other major point is that Han Solo does die in this film. Han Solo just gone forever. And I was sitting in the cinema when he walked onto the gangplank, thinking, boy, the First Order's got some rubbish health and safety people. That would never fly here in England. And then I was seeing him sort of talk to his son and say, oh, come on, come back. And I was thinking, well, what's going to happen here? Because I was thinking it's 50-50 between redemption and death. And I was thinking, well, it's probably going to be a redemption thing. But no, the lightsaber goes up, Han Solo goes over the edge, Chewie starts roaring. I was genuinely shocked, and I think half the audience was shocked as well. And that's going to be the main thing that this film is remembered for. And it's brilliant. It's the Game of Thronesization. Game of Thronesization, Game of Throneying. It's making sure that we know now that none of these major characters are safe. And I imagine it's probably a relief for Harrison Ford to have finally killed off Han Solo. A character who has arguably followed him around ever since the first film. I did find rather cheeky the amount of billing Mark Hamill's Luke Skywalker got to the amount of screen time Luke Skywalker got. In the main tread, when I was reading at the start of the film and it said Luke Skywalker's disappeared, I was thinking, oh god, it's a Find the Skywalker mission. That's fine, I don't mind. MacGuffin missions make up half of films, I've got no issue with that. And I liked the way that it was weaved into the narrative, but I just felt that there was something missing, that the lack of an actual Jedi in this film kind of made it feel a little bit less Star Warsy for me. I know we've got Rogue One coming out sometime in the next year, and that's sort of dealing with how the Rebels get the Death Star plans in the original, so that's going to be pre-Episode 4 but after Episode 3. So that should be quite interesting, because the whole point of that one is that it is just people, there's no Jedis in that one. And was I really the only one who noticed the major upgrade that the Force got in this one? And in previous films, a Jedi's abilities have been some mild mind control, increased agility, and the ability to use a lightsaber without accidentally cutting off your own leg. But here, they're stopping laser beams, they're doing so much more with the Force, although they seem to have sacrificed the ability to leap around like frogs. Quick cameo if you're ever in a pub quiz. The stormtrooper that Jay gets to release her when she's being captured, it's James Bond. It's Daniel Craig. He's the one in the stormtrooper outfit. Just pub quiz. Now, there has been a minor controversy here in the UK in that the tax breaks that were used to bring The Force Awakens to the UK mean that the British Chancellor George Osborne gets a thank you in the credits. Now, George Osborne in the UK would lose out in a popularity contest to the Ebola virus or to a pair of socks that you haven't washed for a week and are placing on your girlfriend's mum's lap. Yeah, he's that popular, and to be honest, it's kind of an interesting move, but it is one that sort of garnered a little bit of a controversy because they're basically saying thanks for making sure that we don't pay any taxes. Okay, so there's been a lot of discussion about Rey and what her deal is. We know she's Force sensitive, and it is canon that the Jedi born. The analogy that was used to me was it's like being gay. They're just being born. There's nothing they can do. And I think that that's fine. We could have Rey as being Force sensitive. Now, a lot of people are trying to make out that she's Luke Skywalker's daughter, or that she's had some prior training. I'm not really believing that. I'm just thinking that she's a Force sensitive person. It was abandoned. Inevitably, her parents are going to come into this, probably in episode 2 or episode 8, wherever we're scoring this. But I do feel that there's a lot of red herrings. This is J.J. Abrams, so he does like to leave a few things dangling. Myself, I prefer to think of her as just a Force-sensitive person who just so happens to have been swept up in the rebellion, much like Luke Skywalker in the original. Yes, I've said previously, this is just A New Hope being done again, but bigger. Han Solo even alludes to this when he basically goes, oh, it's the Death Star again, and one of the guys goes, well, this was the Death Star, and this is the new Super Death Star. Got it, you've made the Death Star again. The trouble is now you've basically reset the universe. And I'm not quite sure as to where we go from here, because yeah, this film is amazing and it's wonderful and I love the practical effects and I love the humour and I love the new characters, and Daisy Ridley, she's going to be an A-lister. This is her first proper film role and she's going to be an A-lister. She's just got that quality about her, but I'm just not quite sure where they're going to take storylines from here. Now, Supreme Leader Snoke, to a lot of people, is quite interesting. I'm reading him as the new sort of Emperor. You've got him, you've got the dishcloth, and you've got what appears to be a genocidal 12-year-old. So you've got the dishcloth who wants to use the Force, who's very sort of Darth Vader-y. He wants to use the Force for everything, and he's going, ignore this technology, I can do this. And then you've got this genocidal 12-year-old who goes, oh, sod the Force, you know, it's an old wives' tale. Let's take this on with the technology, let's use our Super Death Star. And I think that that's quite a nice sort of symbiosis and nice relationship these three have got. You've got the man at top, you've got his two advisors, and he takes the course. Supreme Leader Snoke is of course portrayed by the legendary motion cap actor Andy Serkis. And he doesn't really get to do much in this, and to be honest, I would much rather we hadn't seen Supreme Leader Snoke. I keep thinking he's Snape. He's not Snape. I keep thinking he's Supreme Leader Snape. I kept mishearing it in the cinema going, Snape? I would rather he had been kept just sort of slightly more in the background rather than seeing him. I would have left it at just the dishcloth and the 12-year-old squabbling and them sort of referencing a Supreme Leader rather than showing us this. He looks like a games master. It looks like, I don't know, some sort of floating head. I couldn't really take him seriously, and the fact he appears to be about 19 feet tall, I just couldn't take him quite seriously, and I hope he gets developed. But the trouble is, inevitably, he's going to be drawn into a lightsaber conflict with Rey, and that's just going to look ridiculous. I did like the way that this felt like a handover film. Like the old cast was sort of saying, this is our universe, we've had our fun with it, we're going to stick around for a little bit, but we're handing it over to a new generation. They found two fantastic actors to hand it over to. They found a new R2-D2 to hand it over to. I would quite have liked a new C-3PO. To me, this felt sort of like a page turn. This is the new Star Wars. It's bigger, it's bolder, it's got the budget, the experience, it's got the love. It's got people who really genuinely... It felt like a lot of work went into this. And a lot of characters in this basically were set up and then not really utilised, so I'm kind of hoping they're going to be used further down the line. I did feel that the lightsaber fights weren't quite up to what they have been, but when you consider that the dishcloth, he doesn't appear to have that much formal experience in utilising his lightsaber, and the other guys had literally just picked them up 10 seconds before, I do feel that that was something that could have been explored a bit more, like can you just pick up a lightsaber, or do you need special training? I would have liked a bit more of that to be developed. There were a few cheesy moments, and there were definitely a few too many coincidences for my liking. It was very much, if one tiny thing had gone wrong, if some tiny little thing... Oh, one other thing that did get me, whilst I'm thinking about it, did anyone else notice that the film took 5 minutes to turn into an alien clone? Just when you meet Han Solo, it spends 5 minutes turning into alien? Did anyone else find that really kind of weird, or was that just me? Okay, moving on. Look, at the end of the day, guys, The Force Awakens is an amazing film. It is one of the best films of the year. It is arguably the best Star Wars film. You could have a pretty good argument about that. A lot of the people online saying that the dialogue's not the best. Well, Star Wars films have never been noted for the dialogue. Special effects are good. Yeah, the plot's a retread of A New Hope, but A New Hope wasn't winning any awards for originality either. As far as I'm concerned, this is a fantastic film and one that's well worth checking out again and again. I'm going to see it again in a couple of days with my family and I absolutely cannot wait. So even after a few days thinking about it and after all these spoilers, I still rate it as see it now. I'm Daniel, this has been A Dunking, and you will like, share and subscribe.